The testing facility hummed with anticipation, though if you asked me, it sounded more like a dying space whale having digestive issues. Commander Vecnine adjusted his ceremonial sash for the 15th time in 3 minutes. The purple fabric clashed horribly with his orange skin, but apparently, fashion sense wasn't a requirement for military leadership in the Galactic Council. "Remind me again why we're doing this?" I asked, tapping my claws against the observation deck's railing. The sound echoed through the sterile chamber below, where our human subject was currently being briefed by Dr. Yila 3. Vec-9's 3 eyes rolled in perfect synchronization, which was actually quite impressive. Because, Science Officer Knox 12, the Council needs to understand human capabilities. These creatures have been causing complications across 17 star systems in the past lunar cycle alone. Complications! That was one way to put it. Last month, a single human merchant named Jake Williams had accidentally started a trade war between the Zephyrian Empire and the Altarian Republic by selling them both the same shipment of exotic fruits. The week before that, a human tourist called Amy Peterson had somehow convinced the entire population of Kepler 442b to abandon their traditional worship ceremonies in favor of something called karaoke night. But the incident that really caught the Council's attention happened 3 days ago. A human engineer, Lisa Torres, had been asked to fix a simple communication relay on Station Alpha 7. Instead, she'd rewired the entire system to broadcast cat videos across 12 sectors. The worst part? Productivity had increased by 37%. "So, we're testing their reaction speeds," I said, watching as our subject examined the testing chamber with what I was beginning to recognize as typical human curiosity. "And we chose Maya Patel," Vec-9 said, consulting his datapad. "Age 26, occupation listed as coffee shop barista. No military training, no enhancement modifications, no special certifications beyond something called latte art. Perfect. The Council had specifically requested an average human, someone with no particular skills or training. They wanted baseline data, a control group of 1. What they got was a 5'4" bundle of energy with dark hair pulled back in a messy ponytail and wearing what appeared to be shoes held together by hope and determination. Maya looked up at our observation window and waved cheerfully. Several of my colleagues jumped back as if she'd fired a plasma cannon at them. "Subject appears. Friendly," noted Dr. Yila 3 through the comm system. Her tentacles were twitching nervously, which in her species indicated either extreme anxiety or an urgent need to use the refresher. Given the circumstances, I was betting on anxiety. "Begin the preliminary tests," Vec-9 commanded, trying to sound important. The effect was somewhat diminished by the fact that his voice cracked on the word tests. The first challenge materialized in the chamber. A simple button-pressing sequence. Lights would flash in a pattern, and the subject had to repeat it. Standard stuff. We'd tested this on representatives from 43 different species. The current record holder was a Centaurian speed demon, whose reflexes were so fast he could dodge his own shadow. "Okay," Maya called out, bouncing slightly on her heels. "This looks fun. Like that old game, Simon says, except without the sass." Dr. Yila 3's translator unit made a confused beeping sound. I didn't blame it. Half the things humans said required advanced degrees in cultural anthropology to understand. The sequence began. Blue light, red light, green light. Maya's hand moved in a blur, pressing each button before the previous light had fully faded. The timer displayed her response time, 0.23 seconds. The previous record had been 0.31 seconds. Maya said, studying the display. That was slower than usual. Must be the artificial gravity throwing me off. Vec 9's mandibles clicked together rapidly, which in his species indicated either excitement or the onset of a panic attack. Run it again. Increase the difficulty. The second sequence was twice as long and moved at double speed. Maya's response? 0.19 seconds. She wasn't even breathing hard. "This is fun," she said, grinning at the observation window. "What's next? Please tell me it involves jumping or climbing or something. I've been sitting in a transport ship for 3 days, and I'm getting antsy." Dr. Yila 3 looked up at our window with an expression that roughly translated to, "Help me." I shrugged. Humans were her project now. "Initiate the obstacle course protocol," Vec 9 ordered, his voice now several octaves higher than normal. The chamber transformed. Walls rose from the floor, creating a maze filled with swinging pendulums, laser barriers, and moving platforms. The course had been designed by our best military strategists to test combat reflexes and tactical thinking. The fastest completion time on record belonged to a genetically enhanced Krillian super soldier. 4 minutes and 17 seconds. Maya cracked her knuckles and stretched her arms above her head. "All right, let's do this thing." The starting buzzer sounded, and Maya, well, she moved like liquid lightning. She ducked under the first pendulum without slowing down, rolled beneath a laser barrier that would have taken my head clean off, and bounced off 3 walls to reach a platform that our designers had assumed would require careful planning and patience to access. "Is she humming?" asked Science Officer Krill 7, pressing his face against the observation window. Indeed, Maya was humming something. The computer's audio sensors identified it as a tune called Eye of the Tiger, though I had no idea what significance that might hold. 2 minutes and 38 seconds later, Maya stood at the finish line, barely winded. She looked up at our stunned faces and shrugged apologetically. "Sorry, was I supposed to go slower? I thought this was a speed test." The observation deck had gone completely silent except for the sound of Vec 9's breathing apparatus working overtime. Dr. Yila 3's tentacles had stopped twitching entirely, which in her species indicated either complete calm or complete system shutdown. "Run the combat simulation," Vec 9 whispered. "Sir," I said carefully, "perhaps we should run it." The combat simulation was our most advanced test. It involved multiple opponents, environmental hazards, and scenarios that would challenge even experienced warriors. The test wasn't meant to harm the subject, of course. The opponents were holographic projections, and all weapons were set to stun mode. Maya watched with interest as 6 armed holograms materialized around her. They were based on elite soldiers from various species, each programmed with different fighting styles and tactics. "Oh, cool," Maya said, completely unfazed by being surrounded by hostile figures twice her size. "Are these like video game bosses?" Before anyone could answer, the simulation began. What happened next would be talked about in Galactic Council chambers for generations. The first hologram lunged at Maya with a vibro sword. She sidestepped so casually that the attacker stumbled past her and crashed into the wall. The second and third came at her simultaneously from opposite directions. Maya dropped to one knee, letting them collide with each other in spectacular fashion. "Ooh, that's gonna leave a mark," she commented cheerfully. The fourth opponent tried to grab her from behind. Maya apparently sensed the attack without even turning around, executing some sort of spinning maneuver that sent the hologram flying across the chamber. Did she just use our most advanced combat AI as a launching pad?" stammered tactical analyst Grok 5. The fifth hologram decided on a ranged approach, firing a series of stun bolts. Maya dodged them all while walking backward, chatting conversationally with her attackers. "You know, you guys might want to work on your aim. I mean, I'm not exactly a small target, okay, actually. I totally am. But still." The final hologram, programmed with the combat expertise of legendary warrior Prime Thex 19, approached cautiously. This was the simulation's ultimate challenge, designed to adapt to any opponent's fighting style and exploit their weaknesses. Maya tilted her head, studying the approaching figure with apparent curiosity. "You're different from the others, aren't you? More thinky." The hologram feinted left, then attacked from the right. Maya caught its weapon arm mid-swing and used the hologram's own momentum to flip it completely over her shoulder. The simulation ended with all 6 opponents neutralized in under 90 seconds. Maya dusted off her hands and looked up at our window again. "That was actually pretty fun. The last guy was smart, though. Almost got me there for a second." The observation deck remained silent for a full minute. Finally, Dr. Yila 3 found her voice. "Subject, how did you do that?" Maya looked genuinely puzzled by the question. "Do what?" "Oh, the fighting thing? I don't know, really. I guess it's like dancing, except people are trying to hurt you. You just move where they're not moving, you know?" "Have you had combat training?" Dr. Yila 3 asked. "Combat training?" "Me?" Maya laughed, a sound that somehow managed to be both musical and slightly terrifying. "Doctor, Tentacles, the most violent thing I do is foam milk. Well, that and arm wrestle my brother, but he's only 12, so that hardly counts." Vec 9 was now hyperventilating into a paper bag that someone had thoughtfully provided. "This can't be right. Run the diagnostics. Check the equipment. There has to be an error." But there was no error. Every sensor confirmed what we'd witnessed. Maya Patel, coffee shop barista, had just obliterated every record in our testing facility without breaking a sweat. "Are we done?" Maya asked, checking what appeared to be a primitive timekeeping device on her wrist. "Because I was supposed to call my mom like 20 minutes ago, and she worries when I'm late." "One more test," Vec 9 said weakly. "The puzzle chamber." I winced. The puzzle chamber was our cruelest test, a series of logic problems and spatial challenges that typically took our best minds hours to solve. The current record holder was Dr. Cerebrix Prime, a being whose brain was literally the size of a small moon. The chamber reconfigured itself around Maya, creating a complex 3-dimensional maze of interconnected puzzles. Each solution would unlock the next level, and the final challenge required understanding advanced mathematics, quantum physics, and theoretical philosophy. Maya studied the first puzzle for about 30 seconds, then started pressing buttons and moving pieces with casual confidence. "Okay, this bit obviously connects to that bit, which means this thing goes here and, oh, that's sneaky. That's actually pretty clever." Level after level fell before her casual approach. Where our greatest minds would deliberate for hours, Maya moved with intuitive certainty. She didn't calculate angles. She just knew them. She didn't solve equations. She recognized patterns that our most advanced computers couldn't detect. 43 minutes later, she stood in the center of the completed puzzle chamber, grinning with delight. "That was amazing! It's like a giant Rubik's Cube mixed with chess mixed with, I don't know, philosophy class. Can I take a picture to show my roommate?" From the observation deck, we watched in stunned silence as Maya pulled out a small device and began taking photographs of herself with the puzzle chamber. She even managed to include several of us in the background of one shot, giving a cheerful thumbs up to the camera. Results. Confirmed, Dr. Yila 3 announced, in a voice that sounded suspiciously like someone who'd given up on understanding the universe. Subject has completed all challenges in record time with apparent ease. How? Vec 9 demanded. How is this possible? Maya overheard the question through the comm system and shrugged again. I honestly don't know. I mean, this stuff is fun and all, but it's not like it's rocket science. Well, okay, some of it was literally rocket science, but you know what I mean? She paused, looking thoughtful. Actually, can I ask you guys something? Certainly, Doctor. Yila 3 replied, though she sounded like she immediately regretted it. Why is everyone acting like this is such a big deal? I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm flattered and all, but surely other humans have done this test before, right? The observation deck erupted in surprised chatter. Other humans? We'd specifically chosen Maya as our first human test subject because the Council wanted baseline data. The terrifying implication was beginning to sink in. If this was baseline human performance, what were their actual warriors capable of? You're the first human we've tested, Dr. Yila 3 admitted. Maya's eyebrows shot up. Really? Huh. Well, that explains why everyone seems so surprised. But honestly, I'm probably not even that good at this stuff. You should see my friend Carlos. He's got reflexes like you wouldn't believe. And my sister Jenny, she's the one who's really smart. I just make coffee and occasionally beat people at pub trivia. Pub trivia? I asked, despite myself. Yeah, you know, answering random questions for fun. Like, who was the third president of Mars Colony 7? Or, what's the atomic weight of synthesized thorium-239? Basic stuff. Basic stuff. She considered advanced astrophysics and colonial history to be basic stuff. Vec 9 had gone completely pale, which was impressive considering his species didn't actually have blood. Send a priority message to the Council. Classification. Urgent. Subject. Immediate revision of human threat assessment. Threat assessment? Maya asked, sounding genuinely concerned. Are you guys okay? You all look a little green around the gills. Well, except for you, orange guy, you already looked pretty colorful to begin with. We're fine, Doctor. Yila 3 lied smoothly. Just surprised by your performance. Oh, cool. Did I do good? Maya asked with the enthusiasm of a puppy seeking approval. You did. Adequate, Vec 9 said weakly. Maya beamed as if she'd just won the Galactic lottery. Awesome! So, can I go call my mom now? She's probably started organizing search parties by this point. As we watched Maya skip toward the exit, chatting cheerfully with Dr. Yila 3 about something called the weather back home, one thought echoed through all our minds. If Maya Patel was an average human, what in the name of the 7 moons were their exceptional ones like? But that, as they say, would be a question for another day. And probably another species entirely, because frankly, I wasn't sure our cardiovascular systems could handle the answer. The testing facility fell quiet as Maya's voice faded down the corridor, leaving behind a group of very confused aliens and a collection of completely shattered records. Tomorrow, we'd have to start updating our databases. Tonight, I was going to the nearest bar and drinking until I could pretend that humans were just another ordinary species in an ordinary galaxy. Spoiler alert, it didn't work. 3 days after what the facility staff had started calling the Maya incident, I was still finding reasons to avoid the council chambers. Unfortunately, duty called, and duty had a very loud voice that sounded suspiciously like Supreme Administrator Kex Prime, screaming my name through the intercom. Science Officer, Knox 12, report to Council Chamber 7 immediately. And bring those blasted test results. I gathered the data files with all the enthusiasm of someone volunteering for asteroid mining duty. The numbers hadn't changed since I'd checked them for the 100th time that morning. Maya Patel had essentially broken our understanding of biological limitations, and now the council wanted answers I didn't have. The chamber buzzed with nervous energy as I entered. Representatives from 12 different species filled the semicircular seating arrangement, their various appendages twitching, clicking, and humming with anxiety. At the center of it all sat Supreme Administrator Kex Prime, a being whose reputation for calm decision-making was currently being tested by what appeared to be a severe case of the jitters. Officer Knox 12, Kex Prime began, his voice carrying across the chamber with the authority of someone trying very hard not to panic. Please explain to this assembly how a single human barista managed to achieve what our best warriors, scientists, and strategists could not. I activated the holographic display, showing Maya's test results in all their impossible glory. Honored Council, the subject demonstrated reaction speeds that exceeded our equipment's measurement capabilities, problem-solving abilities that surpassed our most advanced artificial intelligences, and combat instincts that combat instincts, interrupted General Vrak 8, whose species had built their entire civilization around warfare. This human had no training, no enhancements, no weapons experience. How does someone learn to fight like that by serving caffeinated beverages? Well, General, I said, consulting my notes. When we asked the subject about her combat abilities, she mentioned something about growing up with 3 brothers and working retail during the holiday season. Our cultural analysts are still trying to decode what those experiences might entail. Ambassador Trill 15 raised one of her crystalline arms. What about her intellectual capabilities? The puzzle chamber has stumped our greatest minds for cycles. How did she solve it so quickly? According to the subject, the puzzles reminded her of something called escape rooms that humans apparently visit for entertainment. She also mentioned that her grandmother taught her card games as a child, which somehow provided her with pattern recognition skills that our computers couldn't match. The assembly erupted in confused chatter. The idea that humans trained their young in strategic thinking through recreational activities was apparently too bizarre for most species to comprehend. Supreme Administrator Kex Prime raised his hand for silence. Officer Knox 12, what is your professional assessment of this human's abilities relative to her species? This was the question I'd been dreading. Based on our observations and the subject's own statements, Maya Patel appears to represent average human capabilities. She repeatedly insisted that other humans would perform better in these tests. The silence that followed was the kind you usually hear right before a star goes supernova. General Vrak 8 was the first to recover. Average? You're telling me that human was average? She specifically mentioned a friend named Carlos, who has superior reflexes, and a sister named Jenny, who is the smart one in the family. She also referenced something called pub trivia champions and coffee shop rush hour veterans as examples of humans with more impressive skills. Ambassador Trill 15's crystalline form began changing colors rapidly, which in her species indicated either deep thought or impending system overload. If this Maya is average, what would their exceptional individuals be capable of? Before I could answer, the chamber doors burst open with a bang that made everyone jump. Dr. Yila 3 rushed in, her tentacles flailing wildly, clutching a communication device. "Urgent news!" she gasped, apparently having run the entire length of the administrative complex. "We've received a response to our request for additional human test subjects. Kex Prime leaned forward. And the humans are sending someone. They said they wanted to send their best representative for interspecies relations. Dr. Yila 3 paused to catch her breath. They're sending Maya's grandmother. The color drained from every face in the chamber that was capable of changing color. The rest just made various sounds of distress. Her grandmother, I whispered. According to the message, Grandmother Patel taught Maya everything she knows about problem-solving, quick thinking, and dealing with difficult customers. They thought she'd be perfect for representing humanity in our tests. General Vrak 8 slumped in his chair. We're doomed. 2 days later, I stood in the same observation deck, watching as a tiny human female with silver hair and wearing what appeared to be combat boots examined our testing facility with sharp, intelligent eyes. Grandmother Patel, or Nana, as she'd insisted we call her, was approximately half Maya's size and appeared to be roughly 3 times as dangerous. So, she said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber's audio system, you youngsters want to see what humans can do? Commander Vecneen, who had volunteered for this assignment with all the enthusiasm of someone scheduling their own execution, nodded weakly. Yes, ma'am. We're interested in documenting human capabilities. Nana chuckled, a sound that somehow managed to be both warm and terrifying. Well, I should warn you, I'm a bit rusty. Haven't had a proper challenge since that incident with the space pirates last month. Space pirates? Dr. Yila 3 asked faintly. Oh yes, dear. They tried to board our cruise ship. Poor things didn't realize half the passengers were retired military, the other half were teachers, and I was running the bingo game. We had them sorted out in 20 minutes. I made a note to add human recreational activities and educational systems to our list of potential military threats. Shall we begin with the reaction speed test? Commander Vec-9 suggested, though he sounded like he'd rather suggest jumping into a black hole. Certainly, Nana said cheerfully, though I should mention my arthritis has been acting up, so I might be a bit slow today. The reaction test began. Nana's first attempt clocked in at 0.15 seconds, beating Maya's record by several hundredths. Her second attempt was even faster. Oh my, Nana said, examining the display. That's not too bad for an old lady. Maya always was quicker than me, though. You should see her during the morning coffee rush, hands moving like lightning. The obstacle course was next. Nana approached it with the casual confidence of someone who'd been navigating challenges for 70-plus years. She moved through the course like water flowing downhill, never seeming to hurry but somehow completing it in 2 minutes flat. That was lovely, she called out. Reminds me of the playground equipment I used to chase Maya around when she was little. Though your lasers are much prettier colors. The combat simulation was where things got truly terrifying. The holograms materialized around Nana, who looked at them with the expression of a teacher facing a classroom full of misbehaving students. Now then, she said firmly, let's have some order here. What followed could only be described as a masterclass in efficient violence. Nana didn't just defeat the holograms, she corrected their technique while doing it. Footwork, young man. How do you expect to maintain balance like that? She said, using one attacker's momentum to send him careening into 2 others. And you, dear, telegraph your punches something terrible. Here, let me show you. She demonstrated by perfectly countering an attack while explaining proper form to the hologram. When the dust settled, all 6 opponents lay defeated, and Nana was straightening her cardigan as if nothing had happened. Not bad for holograms, though. They could use better programming. Real fighters adapt better than that. The puzzle chamber sequence was perhaps the most unsettling test of all, because Nana treated it like a pleasant afternoon crossword. She solved each level while chatting conversationally about her garden, her book club, and Maya's tendency to overthink simple problems. The trick, she explained while unlocking the final sequence, is not to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Life's full of puzzles, dear. You learn to spot the patterns. When the tests concluded, Nana looked up at our observation window with the same warm smile Maya had shown, but with an additional quality that made my survival instincts start screaming. "That was delightful," Maya said. "You folks were trying to understand humans better. I do hope this helps." Commander Vec Neen had given up all pretense of maintaining military composure and was openly weeping into his ceremonial sash. "Mrs. Patel," Dr. Yila III managed, How are you so capable?" 73 years of practice, dear. You pick things up. I raised 4 children, ran a business, served in 3 different volunteer organizations, and survived the great shopping mall incident of 2387. After experiences like that, your little tests are quite relaxing. "The great shopping mall incident?" I heard myself ask. "Black Friday sale, dear. We don't talk about it much, but let's just say retail warfare teaches you things that military training never could." As we watched Nana exit the facility, chatting pleasantly with Dr. Yila III about her recipe for something called cookies, the council chamber felt like a tomb of shattered assumptions. "Status report," Supreme Administrator Kex Prime said in the voice of someone who'd lost all hope. "Sir," I began carefully, "if Maya Patel represents average human capability, and her grandmother represents whatever that was, then I recommend we immediately revise our entire approach to human relations." "Meaning?" "Meaning we should probably ask them very politely what they want, and then give it to them." General Vrac 8 had stopped crying and moved on to what appeared to be nervous laughter. "Did you hear her? She said Maya was quicker than her. And she mentioned other family members." The full implications hit the chamber like a meteor strike. If this family was typical of human society, then humanity represented the most formidable species the galaxy had ever encountered. They just didn't seem to realize it. "New protocol," Kex Prime announced wearily. "All future human interactions are to be classified as Diplomatic Priority Alpha. We will not be conducting any more capability tests." "What about the data we've already collected?" I asked. "Classified at the highest level. This information doesn't leave this room. The last thing we need is panic spreading through the galaxy because someone learns that humans consider combat training to be recreational activity." 3 months later, I received a message that changed everything. It was from Maya, who had apparently convinced her entire extended family to apply for various positions throughout the Galactic Council. Her brother Carlos wanted to join our rapid response teams. Her sister Jenny was interested in our scientific research divisions. Her cousin Mike was asking about our engineering corps. But the message that made my blood freeze came from Nana herself. She wanted to know if we had any positions available in our diplomatic security services. Apparently, she'd enjoyed her visit and thought it might be fun to help out with galactic relations. I forwarded the messages to Supreme Administrator Kex Prime with a single recommendation: accept immediately, treat them very well, and never ever make them angry. The galaxy had just learned that humans weren't just another species to be catalogued and studied. They were a force of nature disguised as friendly neighbors who made excellent coffee and gave warm hugs. And honestly, I was perfectly fine with that arrangement. After all, if you can't beat them, and you definitely can't understand them, you might as well join them. Plus, Maya had promised to teach me her latte art technique, and I had to admit, I was curious about this mysterious skill that humans apparently considered more challenging than breaking our facility's combat records. The universe, it seemed, was about to become a much more interesting place.